Hello, my name is Ajmal Maywandi and I manage the operations of the Aga Khan Trust for Culture in Afghanistan. For this special edition newsletter on parks and gardens, I would like to share with you some insight and personal experience of the work that we've been doing in Afghanistan for the last 18 years. I would like to focus on three key projects, the first of which is the Timur Shah Mausoleum in central Kabul. Kabul is the capital of Afghanistan and the largest city. It's been growing at an exponential rate, and over the last 15 years, the population has gone from approximately 1 million to 5.5 million. So it's a very congested and polluted environment. In this environment, the creation of gardens becomes a critical aspect of our ability to engage people, our ability to provide people with spaces, not only for recreation, but for interaction, for exchange, and for healing, ultimately. The Timur Shah Mausoleum was one of the first projects I worked on in 2003 when I first started working for AKTC. And the key challenge there was the process of convincing a group of traders who had squatted or occupied the public land around the mausoleum that they should be relocated to alternative premises, and that would then enable the rehabilitation of this public site or public garden. I remember long discussions with the group and their representative. And one takeaway, what struck me the most at a very early stage, was their willingness to accept personal loss or the inability to continue their trading in a location where they had been operating for years, in exchange for the possibility of having an important historic site restored and its landscape rehabilitated. Eventually, following negotiations and discussions and finding suitable alternative spaces for them, we were able to help them relocate in a phased way, which then allowed the restoration of the monument to begin, and also the rehabilitation of the public garden, which is used now by people of that community. The second project, which was critical in many aspects to the way that we began working in Afghanistan, was Babur's Gardens. The site had been laid out by Zahiruddin Babur, who was the founder of the Mughal dynasty, in fact one of the greatest dynasties the world has seen. And it's also the garden or the site where he himself is buried. When we began work, the site was a no man's land. All of its trees, its horticulture, its planting, its flowers had been destroyed during the civil conflict that had unfolded in the city in the early 1990s. And one of the key aspects of our work was the ability to restore the original Mughal architecture. And that entailed a lot of archaeology and a lot of research, which became the basis of the rehabilitation work. But what I found very interesting in that project was, because of the long period of conflict, the skills and the crafts and the trades that were required to be able to restore a site of that nature simply didn't exist in Kabul. And for us, it became a mandate, it became a task to be able to train Afghans in the key crafts that then would form the basis of the restoration itself. And in the process, provide them with a livelihood, a vocation that they can carry on working for the rest of their lives, and also to engage the local community around these sites, which then became the daily laborers or the workforce for the project themselves. Bagh Babur entailed something like 350 people working over 6 years to restore that site, and it became a source of employment and a source of resources for the community itself. Additional work, in addition to what was done inside of the garden, another aspect of our work was to improve the living conditions for the communities surrounding the garden. I think it's a basic principle that if the communities around historic sites have a sense of ownership, and if those communities are vibrant communities where livelihoods are provided, that means that then they take ownership of these sites, then they look after these sites, and the sites become a very important part of the communal life of these areas. And from that perspective, a lot of upgrading and drainage improvement work was carried out in the hillside community around the garden. The third project, which also has a special place, was something that we've done more recently. It was done with the support of the German government. And that's another very important aspect of our work in Afghanistan, is we have tremendous donors, tremendous supporters for the activities, and their continued and long-term financial assistance enables us to do projects, more ambitious projects of a larger scale. And I would say one of the most ambitious projects that we've done in the last 20 years has been the Chilsatoon Gardens. It's another public garden located in the southern part of the city, more than 12 hectares of site. And in this project, what I take away from it is AKTC's ability in an environment where most people only focus on the most basic types of interventions, the most basic types of architecture. Our ability to work to a very high standard, to a standard which is beyond, I think, what expectations are locally, and to meet the aspirations of communities, particularly in war-torn or war-affected countries, that aspire for more. The architecture there is aspirational. It goes beyond what most people would expect in environments like Afghanistan. And from that perspective, I'm very proud of the work that we've done in the Chilsatoon Garden. It provides a basis and a platform for architecture, for young architects, for professionals who aspire or who want to do more than just the basic standard work. From that perspective, I find this project to be great, and the reaction, the public reaction, has been amazing. Tens of thousands of people visit these gardens. They have an opportunity to mix in these gardens. They have an opportunity to interact with each other. And I think more than simply public space, what's critical in these sites is that it enables Afghans to return to normality. It provides them an area, a space to mingle between themselves. Conflict has a way of separating people from each other, of alienating people, of creating different classes and groups. And I think what these gardens tend to do is bring people back together. It brings normality. It brings a return to civic life and a return to interaction and understanding. And lastly, I would like to reflect on my own work in Afghanistan. I've been working for the Trust for Culture for more than 17 years. And I think for an Afghan who left Afghanistan at a very early age, it's provided me a meaningful platform to re-engage my culture, my background, and has given me the ability and has given me the opportunity to work on things that are meaningful, not only for me, but for Afghans themselves. Please stay safe, and thank you very much.